Wait till your father gets home. A Dr. MindBlendr production. Wait till your father gets home. The sentence is already punishment. It is a weather pattern stitched out of air. The strike itself, if it comes, will last seconds, but the waiting stretches into a continent of dread. I know the way it feels in the small body, the stomach folding in on itself, the heartbeat rehearsing calamity, the minutes dripping like tar. The father does not have to lift a hand. The waiting itself is the hand. The punishment is not flesh upon flesh, but imagination upon imagination. Waiting is the weapon. Time itself becomes the belt, the switch, the raised voice, the locked door. It is not the father who grows larger in the child's mind, it is the interval. Fear blooms not at the blow but at the forecast. Clouds gather in the hallways. Shadows bend the clock hands. The air thickens as though some barometer hidden in the ribcage is warning of a storm. The phrase is a spell, and the spell teaches dread to walk ahead of reality. This is the programming. A simple sentence becomes an operating system. The child learns that consequences live in the future, and the future is unbearable. Later, long after the father is gone, the system still runs. The boss says we need to talk. The email arrives without explanation. The doctor calls back about the test results, and suddenly the same barometer drops. The same interval fills with thunder. The father is always coming home. That is the cruelty of anticipation. The cruelty is not what is done, but what might be done. The imagination is an amplifier, a cathedral of echoes. Give it one whisper of doom, and it builds domes and spires, fills them with choirs singing of punishment. The father's footsteps on the porch are louder before they exist. The key turning in the door rattles long before it turns. The event is minor compared to the rehearsal, and the rehearsal lasts forever. That is how punishment leaks beyond its moment, becomes myth, becomes atmosphere. But listen, dread is also a kind of lesson. The lesson is not written in words but in the body. The body learns to tighten, to brace, to live forward instead of now. Fear lives in the next moment, never in the present. In the present there is only breath, heartbeat, floor beneath bare feet. Fear does not live here. Fear lives just beyond the door. The child is taught to abandon presence, to inhabit only what comes next. This is the inheritance. And this is the poison. Wait till your father gets home. The father here is not just a man, not just one figure in a chair. The father is Avatar, the embodiment of deferred consequence. He is the thunderhead, the looming judge, the embodiment of authority summoned by a sentence. The mother utters the phrase, and the father becomes mythic, larger than his own tired body, larger than his sigh, larger than whatever gesture of punishment or indifference he may bring. He is conjured by the sentence into a role he may not even want to play. He is divine hammer, law incarnate, the shadow at the threshold. And even if he arrives and does nothing at all, the punishment has already occurred. The waiting has already carved its lesson into the flesh. This is how fear propagates, not through events but through expectations. The interval itself is the virus, and it copies itself endlessly. Anxiety is only another name for waiting. Waiting for the blow, waiting for the diagnosis, waiting for the letter, waiting for the collapse. The father is gone, but the waiting continues. The world itself becomes father, always on the way home, always about to open the door. Judgment Day, the audit, the knock in the night, these are only amplified versions of the same childhood spell. And yet, in the muck of this dread, there is a twisted kind of enlightenment. The time of waiting is itself a teacher. It shows that imagination is both blade and wound. It shows that presence is always abandoned when fear takes root. It shows that anticipation is more painful than reality. In this recognition lies the seed of freedom. If the punishment is waiting, then rebellion is occupying the waiting differently. Instead of 3 hours scripting pain, 3 hours rehearsing fear, one can invert the script. The waiting can be filled with calm. The waiting can be filled with breath. The waiting can be turned from chamber of dread into chamber of refusal. That is the hack. That is the code rewritten. The phrase itself can even be turned into a Zen saying, wait till your father gets home. But who was father? Who was home? Perhaps the father never arrives. Perhaps he is always arriving. Perhaps the true father is the self, always threatening the self with punishment just beyond the threshold. The knock is never on the door. The knock is on the ribs. To meditate on the phrase is to meditate on fear itself, on how it lives only in the anticipated future, never in the present. And if fear never lives in the present, then the present is always safe. It is only imagination that hurts. The body is the site of pain, but imagination is the site of torment. Humor becomes another mask. Adults recall the phrase with a laugh. They mimic their mother's warning voice. They shake their heads at their younger selves. It is a way of surviving the memory. The joke shrinks the myth back down to sitcom size. The father becomes not thunderhead but tired man in a recliner. Yet the stomach still twitches, the nerves still remember. The joke overlays the scar but does not erase it. Beneath the laugh, the body still knows the dread interval. Across generations, the phrase repeats. The child becomes the parent, and sometimes without thinking, utters the same spell. Wait till your father gets home. A new storm system is summoned. A new imagination is sentenced to 3 hours of dread. Fear becomes inheritance, not in genes but in language, an heirloom native air. Some break the cycle. Some refuse to repeat it. But to break the cycle is to name it, to see it, to call it what it is. To resist blindly is impossible. To resist consciously is the only chance. The father is not just father. The father is state, is boss, is judge, is God. Everywhere authority delays, everywhere consequences deferred, the phrase echoes. The state says, wait till the law catches up with you. The boss says, wait till the review. The church says, wait till judgment day. The father is always on the way home. Authority delays so that fear can do the work before the blow ever falls. Power knows the genius of anticipation. Power knows waiting is the true whip. So what can be done? Sit in the interval differently. Hack the wait. Reprogram the dread. The body knows the old script. Tighten. Brace. Rehearse disaster. Write a new script. Loosen. Breathe. Refusal. Let the father arrive to find not trembling but composure. That composure is rebellion. That composure is enlightenment dragged from muck. That composure is the joke finally turned holy. And still the phrase lingers. Wait till your father gets home. It is joke, memory, scar, koan, philosophy. It is fear in its most ordinary dress. It is the first lesson in anticipation as violence, but it is also, if inverted, a path toward liberation. To see that fear is only imagination stretching forward, that in the present there is only heartbeat, only breath, only floor beneath feet. To laugh not as scar tissue but as clarity. To say, the father may be always coming home, but so am I, and I will meet myself at the door before fear ever gets the key in the lock.